This is material from chapter 16, which covers the ear, the eye, and the special senses. And these are some combining forms and word roots that will be very helpful in determining the medical terminology that you would see on a patient's chart when abstracting data for coding. So, starting here, the first one, canthus, is a Greek term which means corner of the eye. So, you may hear the term medial canthus, meaning the middle, right towards the nose, or lateral canthus, which means away from the midline, away from the nose, the outer part of the eye. Conjunctiva is a Latin term which means inner lining of the eyelid. We'll often hear this word in use with conjunctivitis or pink eye. Lacrime, tears. Okay, lacrimal ducts, pertaining to the ducts that produce tears. Ophthalmo. You'll often hear that term associated with a physician, the ophthalmologist, who specializes in treatment of the eye. Orbit. The bones that come together to form the eye socket, we will call that the orbit of the eye. There is no such bone as the orbital bone, but there are multiple bones that come together that actually form the eye. Photo, meaning light. For example, photophobia, somebody who is, when there is a lot of light outside, they have a tough time seeing. Pur, for pus, purulent. You may hear the term purulent to describe some sort of a discharge, maybe from the eye, from the ear, or any other type of structure in the body. Blepharo. Blepharo means eyelid. You may hear the term blepharoplasty. Blepharoplasty would be a surgical procedure to correct the eyelid. Tamon means to touch, like to contaminate something. Tamon, to contaminate. Okay, so to touch something that maybe is already clean or sterile, contaminate. Dacro, tears. Okay, dacryl, pertaining to tears. Ambly, like amblyopia, okay, would mean dull. Genet, okay, to bring forth. Trope, to turn. Oculo means eye. Opto, vision. Steri, three-dimensional. You may hear like a stereoscope. Strab means to squint. You may hear the disease strabismus. Cili, for eyelid. Sclere, for hard, white of the eye. The sclera of the eye is the hard white part of the eyeball. Stigmat, meaning focus. Audio, meaning hearing. Cure, for clean, like curette. Meate, passage or channel, like the external auditory meatus, for example. Oto, ear. Tympan, for tympanic, for example. If you put IC on the end of that, that would mean pertaining to the tympanic membrane. Ossi is a combining form that means bone, and in the ear, we're generally talking about the auditory ossicles, the three small bones, the incus, the malleus, and the stapes, which allow noise in the form of sound waves to cause tapping, and that ultimately leads to our brain picking up this information and making the perception of what it is we hear in our mind. And then finally, litho means stone. You may hear the term otolith, for example. Those are going to be the ear stones that are essential for our balance. So these are some combining forms which are going to be very common when we are talking about hearing and the eye and our special senses. And if we have a greater understanding of these, again, when you're abstracting the data from a patient's chart to code, the information will make a lot more sense. But we'll study this in more depth in chapter 16.